With cruises coming back, there's now an opportunity to book a cruise, of course, but you don't want to book these rooms. I've got the cabins to avoid up next. Hey everyone, it's Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. Before you think that all cruise ship cabins are the same when you book a cruise, take a moment to look over these really common cruise ship cabin mistakes in this video. The stateroom you pick is an important decision. You're going to spend a lot of time in there. It's basically your home away from home. And even while there's a ton going on during your cruise, you have to sleep there, you got to shower there, and you're going to spend a fair amount of time there. So picking your cabin is not just a matter of, okay, whatever we have there that I can afford works. There are some considerations, and I really wanted to talk about the top mistakes people make when picking a cruise ship cabin. They're not all the same, and some rooms are just downright a big mistake, while others may not be a good fit for others. So with a little bit of research, you can avoid blunders that I hear about from cruisers time and time again. Let's start off with a really good one, something that I've been doing for years and years and years, and choosing a cabin not looking what is above or below your room. Why is this a problem? Well, perhaps the biggest concern in picking any room are when somebody experiences noise bleed, where noise from another venue can be heard in your room. Royal Caribbean staterooms do a pretty good job at muffling nearby noise, but of course, no cabin is totally soundproof. Before you book a room, look at the ship's deck plans and look what is directly above and below your stateroom. Ideally, you want other staterooms on either deck above and below you, and not public venues like pools, restaurants, or other public venues, I should say. Keeping in mind that it's not the worst thing if there's a public venue on a deck above and below your room, but it's a best practice if you can avoid it. Next up is room location if you're worried about getting seasick. The sensation of movement affects everybody differently, but it is definitely a mistake to book a stateroom all the way forward or all the way aft if you think or know you're prone to motion sickness. Getting seasick on a cruise is something that a lot of first-time cruisers are worried about, and while there are a lot of easy remedies in the case it occurs, picking the right room can greatly help as well. Ideally, you want to book a stateroom that is on a low deck and centrally located to lessen the feeling of movement. While balcony rooms are a good idea for this, you want to be on the lowest deck possible with a room that is most midship. Try to avoid higher decks as well as cabins at the very front or very back of the ship if this is a concern for you. If it's not, or you don't really mind it, or like I said earlier, you know that there's a lot of therapies to help mitigate the symptoms early on, then certainly don't worry about this. But this is something to keep in mind if being seasick is a major concern for you. Next up is something that's a major concern for me: distance to walk. On Royal Caribbean's bigger ships, where your room is in relation to the rest of the ship is a consideration to account for as well. The proximity of your ship to elevators, pools, the Royal Promenade, and other public areas can play a factor in picking the right room for you. If you think you're going to spend a lot of time by the pool deck, maybe you should pick a room closer to the pool deck so that way you don't have to spend as much time commuting, if you will, between your room and that public venue. Similarly, if you have mobility concerns, picking a stateroom closer to the elevator banks would be a really good idea. Now, on the larger, newer ships, sometimes the distance from your room to the elevator, especially if you're all the way forward or all the way aft or in that direction, can be significant. I've often had situations in which we're sitting at a venue and my wife and I are talking and say, well, we got to go back to the room to drop something off or pick something up. And I really do one of these, all right, it's a walk, it's a hike over there, but I'm not sure if I want to do this now. Like, it's just something you can avoid if you have a room that's closer to an elevator bank. The next cruise ship cabin mistake to avoid is trying to put everybody in one room together. Families going on a cruise often try to book a room that can accommodate everybody in one room. It seems like the logical solution. After all, I think we usually do this on land vacations, but instead, you should consider booking 2 or more smaller rooms instead. While there are a lot of cabins that can fit 4 people in one room, it may not be the most comfortable situation. Plus the fact you're all sharing one bathroom. Yikes! Instead, consider booking 2 connecting rooms that have a common inside door between them. Not only will this provide more room, physical separation, and an extra bathroom, it may not be that much more money than trying to book one of the larger rooms. And the last mistake when it comes to picking a cruise ship cabin that you should avoid is looking at only the price. If I could tell my dad about this every time, but he doesn't listen. We all have a limited vacation budget, but looking at only the price when choosing a cruise ship cabin is a big mistake. You'll want to look at more than just the price when choosing a cabin, including some of the things we talked about earlier, where it's located, and what is or is not included with the room. Your cabin is one of the part of the vacation where paying a little bit more for a higher category or better location can make a huge difference in your cruise enjoyment. So there you go. There are the top mistakes to avoid when picking a cruise ship cabin. Let me know in the comments if you've done any of these, and if you have any advice for anybody else who's booking a cruise ship and wants to pick the right room for them. one person's mistake is another person's doesn't bother me, but you need to be aware of all these issues so that way it doesn't become a mistake later on. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel so that way YouTube lets you know when we have a brand new video to share, and make sure you turn on that little bell icon so that way YouTube notifies you when we have new videos as well. This has been Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com, and we'll talk again real soon.